All right, without any further delay, of which there have been too many, from Denver to the Philadelphia airport, where I thought Doug might want to walk out and walk home so he didn't have to see me anymore. It is Tuesday afternoon on the Pats Interference Podcast, brought to you by the silly, stupendous, Super Bowl bound CLNS Media Network, baby. I don't know what the hell John Zanis has planned, but I will tell you folks, we're going to have guests. We're going to have a ton of fun. We're going to have more than 2 episodes a week. But for now, we're going to continue with tradition. Mike Giardi Monday on a Tuesday when you and I can just not connect with our schedules. The Patriots are AFC champions. And it is unfortunate that we have to start here at 2:06 in the afternoon, not talking about how wonderful that is. Though we'll get to that. Plus their film notes, DadPod. Let me have it. This segment is brought to you by Dr. David Chow, who I just want to thank for setting a wonderful example for the medical community of pointing out a possible injury that definitely happened, but he can't tell you the diagnosis or the severity of said injury. This pertains to Drake Maye, who appears to have banged up, hurt, got a little sore with his throwing shoulder 2 plays before delivering the best pass of the AFC Championship game, because Jarrett Stidham just removed himself from that conversation. 21 yards, a flea flicker. An example, by the way, that Dr. David Chow used to support his argument. They had to scheme Matt Collins open. It does not mean that Drake Maye's shoulder hurt any less or more. The fact of the matter is, Mike Vrabel was asked about this today. Typically plays coy about injuries. He did on the radio, did not in the press conference. You were there. I was not, but here's what he said. Did Drake Maye hurt his shoulder? No, I wouldn't say anybody hurt anything. So, apologies to Felger and Maz and all of the panic trains that were scheduled to leave this afternoon and run straight through to Super Bowl Sunday. It seems right now, again, now as of 2:07, Drake Maye is going to be okay. But you tell me, because you were there, if I'm misreading anything from either the good doctor or Dr. Vrabel, who visited and actually gave us some insight later this afternoon.
Well, I mean, first of all, they're not going to broadcast one way or the other. Is he really hurt or is he not really hurt? This is one of those things, Andrew, I was having a conversation with Mike Reese after we heard from Vrabel and waited on a couple players. And I was like, there'll be dribs and drabs that'll come out over the next week and a half. If there is anything here or not here, they'll leak it here, leak it there. And then if it's really something, we'll hear about it a couple days after the Super Bowl. Like Drake Maye played with a grade 6 AC joint sprain with a stretched ligament. Like that's the kind of thing.
It's just a flesh wound.
Yeah. Yes. And I would say this, that, and I may have included this in Mike's musings as I just finished that and sent publish. It's the Animal House reference. All is well. Nobody panic. Nothing to see here. And then the poor guy gets run over. Kevin Bacon, I believe it was. Where everyone's going to analyze it. Everyone's going to dissect it. I will guarantee he's playing on Super Bowl Sunday. And that's that.
So for the people who are unfamiliar with the work of the Dr. David Chow, who I've never met and has made a small cottage industry out of being a doctor at home with a Twitter account, has hundreds of thousands of followers. Good for him. I can't do this. Not a doctor. Say this all the time. We talk about injuries. I do know, though, to kind of stand on your reporting or analysis when you make it, and I make mistakes. But he also said, as you just did, he seems to have sustained a shoulder injury. Does not seem like Drake Maye will miss the Super Bowl. So I have no doubt Drake Maye's a little sore because Mike Reese, the guy you mentioned, this is my biggest reason for believing this. Bothered to involve it in the bottom of his story that he published today or yesterday about the offense or whatever. We know Mike Reese's credibility is untainted, unmatched on this beat. If he's saying it, he's paying a little bit of attention. That's the amount of attention I'm going to give it until I get word back from people that I know are not going to get back to me. So I don't really have anything more to add. We will, I believe, get an injury report tomorrow. Is that correct? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
Whether the Patriots practice or not, and they're not, by the way. It'll be Thursday, Friday, off-ish day Saturday. They fly to San Francisco on Sunday, as will I. When are you getting in, by the way?
Monday noon, I think.
Okay. So they'll ramp up, they'll practice in, but we'll start to get the reports down. They might be estimated. Either way, this will be moot, thankfully, even if it drags on a little bit longer. What will last longer is the AFC trophy, or paperweight, as it's now. It is. Just bring back the old ones. You know, we all agree on this.
Silly.
Patriots win at Denver 10-7. There was snow. There was the worst start of Drake Maye's career. There was a defense that continues to carry the team. I am not going to do the syrupy nostalgia, though I'm tempted just to go back and 24 years ago on this date, when this happened, with that weather and this precipitation. I just want to ask you a simple question. Now, almost 48 hours later, because we got time to process and digest and pick what was important. The Patriots are going to the Super Bowl. When I say that, your thought, your feeling is what?
Bananas. I'm just like, legitimately, and we've had this discussion a million times, but like, we knew they were going to be better. We saw it in the spring. We saw it in the summer with the operation and the level of attention to detail that Mike Vrabel and his coaching staff had. I mention all the time, Vrabel, you'd be watching him and he'd be over here with the punt returner, and then like you'd turn away for 2 minutes, and the next thing you know, he's on the opposite corner of the second field working on one-on-one pass rushes with Milton Williams, Keon White, whoever it may be. And you're like, I didn't see this last year. In fact, I don't know that I saw this in the last couple of years of Bill Belichick. So you're just like, there's a different energy and a vibe, and they're going to be better. I did not buy into the 11, 12, 13 win thing, as we've discussed here a number of times. But when they got to that midpoint in the season, and I told you, I think I said it on this pod, it was kind of like, you know what, they're good. Like, I can't, we scheduled this, that, the other thing. They're kicking some teams' asses. They're not having these slip-ups. They're making plays when it matters. They're generally out-coaching the other side, like pretty much the entirety of the year. And it was like, at that point, it was like, okay, well now, and I remember you got mad at me one time because it was like, oh, well, you know, the AFC is wide open. You know, we can't just look at the team. I'm like, well, that matters. What was happening in the AFC? And I think it was at that point, it was like, well, there are a huge, there are a whole bunch of avenues to go a lot further than I ever expected. And I think
Mike Vrabel then got mad at me for suggesting the AFC was wide open in a question to him about the trade deadline. So I guess I passed it on once you had gotten mad at me. Anyway.
Yeah. So to me, that from where we were to being here now, it's believable in the sense that we watched it grow. We watched it blossom. We watched the confidence grow. We've watched this defense evolve, all these different things, right? But from where we began, like, I would not have put any money on them being in the Super Bowl. In fact, most people wouldn't have. I don't know if you saw the Mike Sando note, 4,800 to 1 odds that this was going to be the Super Bowl matchup between the Patriots and Seahawks back in the preseason.
Patriots were 80 to 1. Seahawks were 60 to 1. We will have plenty of time, by the way, to talk about the Seahawks. Maybe we will at the end. I don't know. We got a hard out here at like 3:10, 3:15, which gives us just over an hour. Point is, we have spent so much of this season, self-included, you included, talking about the context and the circumstances of the season. And people are probably sick of me saying, to understand where you are, you need to know where you've been. And where they've been is 4-13 and 4-13, and the meltdown of Belichick and the departure of Brady. And the context of this season, not the cause of their winning, has been the schedule and how soft it is. And okay, they're good, but how good are they? And they haven't played anyone, and the quarterbacks, and blah, 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 blah. What I think about when I think about this Super Bowl run, this AFC Championship, is that independent of the context, independent of the history and the circumstances, there is a timelessness that you could bottle up this team and this experience in their play, specifically the last 3 weeks in the playoffs. And that will stand in any type of season because this was a complete team effort. This is why you started to believe in them all those years ago. It was the defense. It was great special teams. It was clutch offensive play. It was clever coaching. This is why you believe teams like the Patriots can make these leaps into the Super Bowl. Forget 80 to 1, 40 to 1, 20 to 1. There was something here that happened, that grew, that developed. And the players will tell you, Elliot Wolf told me it started week 5 in Buffalo. The belief, like that stuff is timeless. That stuff will always win. And I think for a region that watched a team be born with that and grow from it, then pivot to just dominating because you had the best quarterback and coach of all time, you tend to forget where those roots were and why that they won in the first place. And again, that's separate from what's happening here, 2001 and 2003 and whatever. But I just love that we got back to that place because smart, clutch, sound football, togetherness with the team effort always wins. And it did this season, no matter who they played, when they played, how they played.
Yeah, the growth of the team, and they talk often about the connection of the team, and I think the connection goes beyond just what's in the locker room. It's the connection to the coaches, and Vrabel has certainly made a point, and it's not one of the things. There's certain things that he doesn't want to delve too deep into, but the idea that as his role as the head coach, he has to reach these different men from all different backgrounds and he has to find the things that make them work and the things that allow them to have confidence in him, that he cares about me, and therefore he cares about how I'm going to do. And now I'm going to give myself to him because I know that he gives a crap. And that connection, I think, is really the roots were planted. They planted the seeds back in the spring, and slowly those roots grew into something really strong. We've got a big oak tree now in the backyard that you're looking at going, wow, I can't believe that grew that fast and that strong and looks as great as it does in the middle of winter. But that's what this is. And I have a lot of respect for the diligence with which they've approached this entire process and sort of the steps that they've checked off across the way. And you're right. It's actually funny. You were talking, we had this romantic conversation about where they were last week or whatever, what you were feeling with the snow globe and all these different things. And I sort of felt the same way on Sunday where, boy, that was an ugly football game. And that's what, you're like offense, you like points, and go back to the next game. The NFC Championship game is explosive and it's hard hitting and there's all kinds of stuff going on, where your game is 2 yards, everybody in the scrum, fall down, 2 yards, everybody scrum. We're going to throw this play away and we're going to punt. I thought it was beautiful because there was just something about like adapting to the circumstances and playing to, hey, this is what we've got. So how do we best manage this? And that's some of the things that those teams did under Belichick really, really well. It's like anywhere, anytime, any place, what's the weather? Doesn't matter. We'll figure out a way. And they once again figured out a way.
Well, there are two things about that, right? Because in defense of the snow game, and I honestly think most people are of this mind. So I don't want to do the straw man of like, oh, everyone who wants a dome. Like, there are enough of those people. But the people listening to this podcast grew up in snow games, and Patriots won those. So naturally, you tend to like them. It's the adaptability piece of like, hey, everyone's playing in this. Who's going to be tougher? Who's going to be smarter? How are you going to figure this out and get around it? There's also kind of a tension, though, in a snow game that to me is akin to not like the visual cocaine of playoff overtime hockey, but also hey, one score is going to do it. And if you're on defense, there's like a little tight butt of I can't miss a tackle. I better have the right leverage. We can't be caught in a blitz and have that dammed up, because if someone gets loose, it's 6 the other way and they might be running away with a win. And offensively, you're like, we just need one. And of course, one team, whoever has the lead, the Patriots in this case, want to sit on the ball. They sat on the ball and Denver couldn't get there. But it just, you don't get that tension typically until you get in the 2-minute drill, because the game is just so condensed. When every possession has that weight on it, though, because of the snow, which you don't get in domes, you get that kind of feel that I really missed and love.
Quickly, take those people that want everything in a dome and launch them straight into the sun. It's friggin' football.
Put them in a dome and just keep them there. You want a dome?
Yes.
Here it is. You live here now.
Yeah,
okay?
I'm fine with that. Yeah, everything is fine. The AC is at 68. You're comfortable. Yeah, no, that's not the way. The game was not meant to be played that way. And unfortunately, the league as in general is morphing closer and closer to Chicago's a dome. And, they're all doing this thing now. They're building these new stadiums. Give me the outdoors. Give me the elements. You got to be able to travel. You got to be able to deal with all of it.
I'm going to look this up because this is going to be a good example. Though I'm going to blow this. So spoiler alert, there's a Hulu show, I think it was also on ABC, with the black guy from This Is Us. And he was like a Secret Service agent.
Oh, yes. Yeah. No, I watched the show. I can't think of the name of it.
Paradise.
Yes.
Okay. So without spoiling a great pilot, my suggestion of putting everyone in a dome, maybe that's spoiler, I don't know. Apologies. Watch Paradise. It's good anyway.
Yeah.
All the owners that want those domes, you go, you stay there. It doesn't have to be anything Hunger Games, Squid Game related. Just get along. Just go away. Okay. The greatest achievement of this team, I think, is a really interesting question, because we talk about like, okay, what is our main thought and the feelings and the echoes and the newness and the team and they won and yada, yada. There's so much that went right here, as it always does need to for any kind of champion, the luck, the schedule, the health, whatever. But it took Mike Vrabel. It took Drake Maye. It took Elliott Wolf dealing virtually every free agent signing as he worked together with Vrabel and Ryan Cowden. It took development on the piece of the rookies who were able to contribute and some of those lower level free agents. Of all of those things, what was like the greatest achievement, the most impressive thing about this? And maybe it was just Maye, because he might win the MVP.
My first answer would be Maye, because none of this is happening without him going nuclear this year. And we were believers. We thought they should have picked him the whole thing. But for it to happen as quickly as it did in his first year under Vrabel and McDaniels, where literally in week 2, he was incredible. Had the couple turnovers against Pittsburgh, market 15-26. And then from that point on, he became the legitimate MVP. Like, that to me be the thing that stands out. But then there's the part of me as the son of a coach and who got to watch some great coaching staffs here and the way they built their teams and programs. And we can talk about the end. We're not going to talk. I'm just talking about what happened in the beginning and when Bill was throwing 99 miles an hour and hitting the black like Pedro Martinez. This coaching staff has done that. And I said it in my rambling open about just the idea of, can you, other than the second half against the Bills, was there a moment here in the last 4 months where you're like, they got out coached, that they got, they didn't have an answer for something? They've always had the answers, or damn near always had the answers. And that is, they're on a heater. They've been on a 4-month heater. And that is impressive as hell, because we can talk about the state of coaching in the league, but there's a lot of good guys. They may not be the best of the best, but they're pretty damn good. And you've beaten those guys. You've picked them off one by one.
Yeah. And this is not a question, though people hear this all the time, of like, if you love one thing, you hate everything else. You know what I mean? Like when you say Drake Maye and then just highlighted the accomplishments of Vrabel, the greatest achievements, again, they needed all of this to come together in a way that it rarely, if ever, does. But here they are. Good for them. I think I agree with you, though, because the other way to answer this question is to be like, okay, in 5 years, when we look back on the season, what are you going to remember most? What was the biggest driving factor? What was the achievement? And you can go culture, because I think some people listening to this would be like, it is the great culture, what Mike Vrabel did to bring the team together and turn it around from 4-13 to 14-3. That's true. But there are a lot of average teams with great culture. Yeah. And what separates the good teams from the great teams is often the quarterback play. And it's a simple answer. But even if, let's say, they win an ugly one, it's like 16-13 in the Super Bowl, and Drake doesn't even have a touchdown pass, you're going to remember the plays he made, the long scramble against the Chargers, that long touchdown pass, 3 touchdowns, and the one to Booty. That is just like NFL films, Hall of Fame, like why that building is there.
Yeah.
And you'll probably remember a scramble or the last conversion on that 3rd down against Denver. Again, the worst start of his career. But to me, you need all of that more than the good culture. Without the quarterback, you're not here, but they're here. And I think it is Drake Maye, who, by the way, at 23, like, we just can't say it enough. He's younger than Brady was when Brady made his first start. He'll be the second youngest quarterback ever to start a Super Bowl. And if he wins, the second youngest quarterback ever to win an MVP. So we know he's great. We know he's historically great. We still don't talk about how historically great he is. This is insane.
Yeah. I just quickly on the whole quarterback thing too. Like, so 3 years ago, the Jets had unbelievable defense, top 3 defense. It might've been the best defense in the league. And the culture was good. Sal as a player's coach, like they had a good environment. Their quarterback sucked and they won like 7 games. And it was like, you can have this great culture. You can have a bunch of great players. Then they did. I mean, it's crazy that they only won 7 games, but Zach Wilson, you have Drake Maye, and that lifted everything. And you got a guy making plays, and you allowed the defense to come along at their rate, right? Where it was like, we talked about that. Are they good enough defensively? All of a sudden, now the defense is the thing that's really kind of driving the bus. But Drake's play and the way he elevated the whole group brought a belief, and then allowed this group to sort of slowly find their way. Whereas now in the back third of the season, counting the playoffs, they've been your best unit, which again, we would not have thought we'd be saying.
Next thing I have here in the rundown, I want to hit quickly, because we've already kind of talked about this. Like the idea of the lessons learned, I think it's always a good exercise to sit and think like, okay, what did I miss? What did I not see? From even like a media perspective that I can take away for next year that helps inform how I'm looking at the game, the team, whatever. And again, to me, this is, again, underestimating sometimes the togetherness of the team is its strength. You need to win multiple ways, which you and I have talked about. The defense has powered them through this postseason, not Drake Maye. And the last one I'll say is you don't apologize for the road that got you here.
Right.
Like, I don't think people should be criticizing them for the schedule. They didn't choose it. I don't think you should be cheering them on for things that were outside of their control, or like dominating Denver in a way that if you go, oh, Bo Nix was there, like that's outside of their control, but they were favored in that game. So I think there's just an understanding of like, don't let the to steal a phrase, outside noise, I guess, which I hate saying, affect what's going on here, because often we do get caught up on what matters. They won. If they weren't deserving, quote unquote, in the AFC, which leads me to the next question. Like, who was in the AFC? Because it wasn't Bills, it wasn't the Texans, it wasn't the Chargers, wasn't the Broncos, even though they had a backup quarterback. So that to me is another one. Like, if people are detracting and you're a fan at home, your team won. F the rest. That is my last lesson, I think, from this.
So I love that point, because I was actually thinking about this last night, about how people get so triggered by this disrespect card. And Stephen A. Smith just came on. It's like, I'm sleeping on the Patriots. It's over. Kellerman was like, congratulations to Seattle on winning the Super Bowl. Like, who cares?
Who cares?
They haven't watched your team they haven't consumed all the content that we produce on this beat, which is there's a million of us, and there's different angles and different viewpoints. And some guys are real pro team and some guys are negative, and some whatever. Like, just you've watched this magical season grow, and yeah, the schedule was easy. Who cares? You played Jared Stidham in the AFC Championship game. Who cares? You're going to the freaking Super Bowl. Your team, the team that you spend your money on, that you invest your Sundays or Mondays or whatever it is to watch, and you talk with your buddies and your text chains and all these different things that you passed on to your kids, your love for this team. Like, they're going. This doesn't happen all that often. We have been fortunate enough, obviously, crazy, like probably the greatest modern dynasty in history that had two different versions of it. And now 6-7 years removed from that, they're back again with a different cast of characters, with a quarterback who, by the way, this other thing about, oh, they hate us again. They hate us. Everybody hates us. Nobody hates Drake Maye. A few people might hate Mike Vrabel because he can be a little bit abrasive and he can be a little bit cocky, but like, most people are like, this is a cool story. Like, what happened 7 years ago? They hated you because of Belichick. They hated you because of the scandals. They hated you because Tom Brady was freaking perfect. Yeah. This is different, but you're here and it's awesome. And you're just like, my son, like, he'd rather play video games, but he's texting me from college, like, this is awesome. Like, getting nervous when the snow's coming down. Like, can Drake make another play? Like, can we do something here? Like, those things are cool, and you have those forever. Who cares about the freaking Stephen A. Smiths and the Max Kellermans? Because they don't know jack. You watch your team, you know more than they do about what's going on.
Yeah, they're not part of the silly, stupendous Super Bowl bound CLNS Media Network, baby. So keep it here.
Hell no. Cool. You're not invited either.
So here's the last part before we dive into the game. We can say all that, and maybe this is a good test of people listening to that advice. Ignore the noise and F the rest. If you're being honest with yourselves at home, I think we all know this Patriots team is not at the caliber of most AFC champions lately, and certainly not in Patriots history. It's worse probably than every Super Bowl team except for 2001. You can make a case. 11 and 17 give me pause, less balanced. But like, whatever you feel, it's not up there. And I think this point is going to be raised, by the way, in different forms, schedule, this and that. I'll make Drake slow in the playoffs. And like, there's something to the Drake piece and not like this offense kind of stalling out for more quarters than not. But ultimately, the fact that they're not, quote unquote, up there, should we care?
No.
Good.
No, you should. No. And I'll give you this as an example, cross sports for a minute. The Celtics won the title, right? And the road to the title was easy. And they went 16-3 on their way to winning the NBA title. Easiest title road ever. I don't care. As a fan, that team brought me great joy to see what they accomplished. And I love them beating the hell out of people in the postseason. And like, to me, actually beating the hell out of teams in the postseason sort of proved how much further beyond you were than everybody else. To me, that's what that did. And so this has been different. You're not beating the hell out of these teams. There's been some tight games against backup quarterbacks or teams with injured star receivers or whatever the case may be. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, because you could have lost one of these games. And then what would we be saying? I can't believe they had a chance. I can't believe they lost to the Chargers at a night game at home in the playoffs for the first time in 7 years or whatever it was. Those are the things that we'd be saying. Instead, it's like, no, they survived that one. And they made enough plays in this one. And then they survived that one. And now they got 11 days until the Super Bowl. And who knows what will be for 12 days until the Super Bowl. And who knows what we'll be saying after that. But I do know this, that once we get over the whatever happened, especially if it's on the negative side, you'll be like, okay, sucks that they lost the Super Bowl, but what a freaking season. Like, what a season.
You know who should care? And by this, feel like slightly badly or kind of back off how good you feel. The people who should feel badly are the losers because they're losers. You know what I mean? And I like, if this was clipped, right, I'm going to sound like a econ, but please let me explain. If the Patriots are not deserving in the AFC or in any team in a down year, you tell me who is, because I bring up Denver and you could argue like they won. They got the number 1 seed and they had a home field advantage. The remaining strength of their team was their offensive line. They got their asses kicked. Like, that's what it is. So when I say, should you care at home, I think we should be always honest with ourselves about the quality and caliber of this team. There are people high ranking within the team who didn't love the roster week 1, but it developed. It stayed healthy. Drake Maye, for the most part, took care of the rest. And now the defense is doing this. But my point is, this was a down year for everybody. Like, I thought it was me getting older, having a kid, accelerating into the phase where I started to say, back in my day, things were a little bit better. The music was, cooler and this and that. And the football was tougher, blah, blah, blah. No, I'm right. Okay. Seattle, I think is the one great team left.
Clip that. I'm right.
We're close. Yeah. Being right feels good. The Patriots are a very good team. So the people that should feel bad are those that were also part of this down year, right? Bo Nix was the freaking number 1 seed. Okay. And they missed their shot because the Patriots didn't make their shot. Anytime you hear this the rest of the week, turn off the radio, the podcast, the TV. I think we should all know like what the deal is. It was a down year for the league. Hopefully things are better and everyone's healthier, more quarterbacks and Burrow and Mahomes, whatever. It's not the case. This is the world we live in. Patriots are champions. They deserved it. Are you ready to talk about the game?
Yes.
Well, too bad. I'm going to make you wait. PrizePicks is here for you in the big game. Not this Sunday.
Mikey's on a heater.
Let me tell you, we give out PrizePicks picks of the week every week in this podcast. And if you think I don't care and I'm just doing an ad read, I will remind you, my father now makes these picks. So I'm responsible for some of my future inheritance going to PrizePicks. And if he doesn't win, there goes a tiny piece of the inheritance. So we really care. And it's a lot of fun. It's really simple because PrizePicks is America's number 1 place to watch sports and win money. You just pick the players that you want. And every player comes with a stat. And for football, passing yards, touchdowns, rushing yards, could be an interception, whatever it is, it's up to you. There's nothing there that you have to do except for pick 2 to 6 players. When you pick a player, you look at a stat, you go more or you go less. Once you put that player in your lineup, you find another player or up to 6, whatever you want, lock it in. That's it. And sometimes if you go up to 3 players and the first 2 hit, you can get out of there because with the new feature where you can just cash out, you get your money. That's my favorite part right now with the early payouts. I don't want to deal with the anxiety of whether my 3rd pick is going to cost me that inheritance or not. I just get in, I get out, and I've already used PrizePicks, done it for years. But if you download the PrizePicks app today and use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup, you use code CLNS. You will get $50, 50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, it's good to be right. We will have, unlike past weeks, when I tried to give you 2, because it was 2 I felt really good about. That's the minimum. You get in, get your money. Pop Douglas hit. Christian Kirk that week hit. We hit in the Chargers that week. I'm going to give you a lot. I think Super Bowl Sunday. Do you think we can get to 10 next week?
Yeah, it's separate bets, right? Because you can do separate, whatever they call it. However you phrase that. I don't know how you phrase it. You know what I mean.
Next week, you and I also have to find a time because it'll be media night where, you get all the clips of the clowns asking the clown questions and you get some good stuff in there. But the point is, we'll probably do that Tuesday. I don't know when it'll go up. You'll have your own stuff. I'll have my own stuff. But we will have a ton of PrizePicks and everyone should listen. In the meantime, what did people miss watching the AFC Championship game? Again, this is about 48 hours ago. There was a snow in the second half, kind of swallowed the game, strangled it, however you want to put it. Most of the football was played before that snowstorm. So it looked cool and it affected some big moments. But there was a lot of football that happened first. What did people miss offensively?
So I would say one of the concerns that we've had about the Patriots, Andrew, over the course of the season, especially, the Atlanta game, right? Where you and I were, oh, this is how teams are going to play them going forward. Cleveland, more aggressive. Patriots struggle versus man. And Patrick Surtain, when he's right, and he appeared to be right on Sunday, is the best corner in football. And the way he nonchalantly, almost disgustedly swatted away the go ball to Kayshon Boutte early in the game. Like, really? Really? You think he's going to beat me down the sidelines? Not going to happen. But the Patriots, to me, before the weather turned, that was something that jumped out to me. Not a lot of separation. Just difficulty coming open. And I think because of how the previous games have gone, I think Drake's a little sped up and a little bit more fearful of what's happening with the line in front of him. And I think it led to a couple moments where he had guys that he could have pulled the trigger on and didn't. And whether it was taking a sack or throwing it away or taking a hit, it's something that they're going to have to figure out a way to iron out some of these flaws, because obviously you're not getting faster, quicker, and better against man 12 days from now. But that's something that definitely jumped out to me that I guess you would say was from a negative standpoint, but I think kind of contributed to what was tough sledding when the conditions were certainly more favorable for the offense.
Yeah. And that's something, again, that, he burned on, it was one of the scrambles. I want to say it was a 28-yarder that started that first drive of the second half. They get a field goal. It's the go-ahead drive. It's the game-winning drive. And one of the few times where it's like he kind of carried them in a way that he had to break through because he was more effective with his legs than he was throwing the ball. Not because his shoulder's broken, but he might be a little bit sore today anyway. The man coverage piece is just not going to go away. The good news, if you're a Patriots fan, is the Seahawks don't really play a ton of man. Maybe they changed their mind, but the Patriots obviously survived.
More recently, which, and more against the Rams in this last game, and more against the Rams. Maybe it was the Week 11 game, but so they've got it in their bag. It's not what they major in, but I wonder if looking at the Patriots and taking a deep dive, they sort of embrace a little bit more of that.
Okay. Well, complementing this is their success rate when they played from 11 personnel, which was not Josh McDaniels' initial plan. It was going to be spread. It was going to play through big people. We're going to dictate terms. We're going to get you in base. We're going to run a lot of duo, some power, counter, just all the man block stuff. Couldn't go anywhere, pivoted to 11 personnel. And from there, they had a 28% success rate. And when your best offensive players in some order are Ramondre Stevenson, still on fire, Hunter Henry, but then it's probably three receivers with Stephon Diggs, Kayshon Boutte, and Matt Collins. Welcome back. Mm-hmm. You cannot win the Super Bowl if that success rate is that low from that personnel grouping. And again, we're jumping ahead a little bit. That's a pod for another day. But it was the man coverage piece, which I'm glad you brought up. It was also Drake Maye having the lowest accurate throw percentage of his career. So this is, ignore the throwaways. He didn't have a spike, but plays like that, this was no good. And I do think he was a little bit sped up. And this is kind of an accumulation of 5 sacks versus the Chargers, 5 sacks versus Houston. There's a big moment. Awesome crowd, by the way. It might have been the best crowd, all due respect to the Bills fans, in the best playoff games I've been to at Gillette. They were rocking. That's a lot. But he has to settle down earlier. And I'm not worried about it, but it just, that grouping with those players, for the factors we just listed off, was worse than you even knew watching that game, and you knew it was bad.
Yeah, it's they are who they are, right? From an outside perspective, from the wide receiver position, or even from the tight ends.
I am.
That's what it is. And there have been times where they've been able to, or there's been a lot of times where they've been able to be explosive at various points offensively. But when a team plays them like that, and they have, it's kind of funny, people dog Riley Moss. And Riley Moss gets thrown at 15 times a game because they don't want to throw at Surtain. He's good. He's good. He'll get the grab and the tug, and obviously the game didn't turn out that way because of just the weather and the conditions in the second half. But that's a really good group, and you struggled against it. And the group that they're playing again two Sundays from now is a pretty good group. So we'll see what it looks like. They're going to have to. They just have to, I think, to your point, they have to figure out a way to get Drake a little bit more comfortable sooner in the football game. And if they can do that, I think the confidence will flow from that.
Yeah, the way they eventually got going, which is to put it nicely.
Yes.
Field position, right? Christian Ellis put them at the 12 with that forced fumble, strip sack, whatever it was, backward pass. And they score from there. It was quick slant against your boy, apparently, Riley Moss. Kayshon Boutte had a catch. And then a draw for May. So that draw obviously was a good call. It was designed in the red zone. And it was one of these ways that they tried to nullify that pass rush. On the next drive where they scored, the only other drive that they scored, the run game finally got going, but it was in 4, 5, a 12-yard run. That's when the duo stuff hit. And duo is really important for them because it is a vertical run where it's the best running style for Ramondre Stevenson. It's the best type of run blocks for guys like Mike Onwenu. And it's been one of their best runs of the season, built on 2 double teams on the interior, and then guys climb up. There's some confusion with inside zone. That's, again, for another day. They need to have at least this type of success for a drive or two against Seattle. But that's what carried them there in addition to the scramble. So it was the run that they had tried to start with. They literally, first play of the game was duo, and then got back to later. And that stubbornness and persistence we talked about has paid off with May taking shots against Houston. Finally hit the one to Boutte, knocked the game out. But that was kind of it. There was some other point I was going to make, but I just forgot about it. So what, if anything, with the run game? Oh, TreVeyon Henderson played only 4 snaps. I don't know if you want to talk about that.
It kind of speaks to what I've been talking about for a while now, and I think you've been with me. Is I wanted more reps for Ramondre, but this was a clear situation where we know what kind of game this is. The yards are going to be at a premium, and Ramondre on Sunday, even if the number is 25 carries, 71 yards, is not anything to write home about. If you go back and you watch it, he didn't leave yards on the field, and TreVeyon's massive issue all season really has been leaving yards on the field. And they were kind of like, they're at a premium. This guy's going to go downhill. He's going to move the pile if he can. It was a lot of rugby scrums that we saw running to the line, 9-10 bodies gathered around. And every once in a while, he kind of stuck out of there for 5 or 6. To me, that's just sort of an indication of this is the kind of game he's the kind of runner, and we trust him to hang on to the football and make the right plays with it when he gets the ball. Again, not a lot there, but he made the most of it.
I just remembered the point I was going to make. It's a very quick one. Will Campbell, well done against Nick Benito, because that was him blocking, again, like Drake, settled in a little bit, missed a cut block. But he was the roadblock to the Broncos' most direct path to an upset. And it was burying Drake Maye as they seemed to early, 3 sacks, all against the 4-man rush. Part of that was him holding the ball. Again, details, minutia, we'll just move on from. But for a guy who gave up 2 sacks the week before against Houston and struggled against the Chargers, you needed this from Will Campbell. You got it. Great sign. On the Stevenson point, there are 2 parts of this, right? 2 players involved, him and Henderson. Henderson, clearly, they still do not trust in blitz pickup. And frankly, with a Super Bowl trip on the line, I wouldn't have either. 4 snaps, 0 as a pass blocker. The other part for him is vision. And you saw this on his first carry of the second half where, look, the lane's clogged, but he tries to bounce it outside, goes backward for 3 yards. And if you lean a little bit more to the right and stay with the designed gap, 1 yard is not great. It's a lot better than going backwards 3 yards. And Stevenson did the opposite, gaining 59 yards after contact. So that is a hard-earned 71. Good vision, good setup, and the blitz pickup, again, you could look at the flea flicker on this from him.
Oh, beautiful.
Back, turns around, boom. He's passing off stunts with Jared Wilson. Just awesome stuff from Ramondre Stevenson. And that's why TreVeyon Henderson, for all the fantasy folks. So I think there's still fantasy in the playoffs is how out of touch I am with the fantasy. There's your answer. So that's most of what I have on the offense there.
Well, there's a big outlet that did a huge deep dive on Henderson and what they expected was going to be his impact on Sunday's game. And I'm like, it's again the difference between local and national. Sometimes, we've been telling you about this for a while, and it's sort of the pendulum has shifted to Stevenson's side for sure. But that was just okay,
he earned it, and throughout the game and beforehand. Yeah, when we write stuff like, hey, Tamario Douglas could break open this divisional round game, you pay attention to
that guy.
Defensively, what did you like? What did you love?
I love so much about this. And to me, it goes back to one of the very first things that Vrabel, and then at the time, he's still the defensive coordinator, but the acting DC at the time, Terrell Williams, said about violence. There was a lot of violence in this game, and in fact, as I wrote in musings for Boston Sports Journal, "Speed and Violence" should be the title of the movie about Christian Ellis, because that's the way Christian Ellis has been playing since, well, even before the Giants game, but obviously that's when it popped up. There was a play in the game to me that was sort of symbolic of everything that this defense has become. It was the third down incompletion from Stidham on the in cut to, I think it was Cortland Sutton. The ball was just a little bit behind him. He should have caught it, maybe 15 yards down the field, but it was like a 3rd and 8, and it was Patriots, I think, rushed 6. Maybe it was 6. I think I have you know what? Hang on one second. I've got the picture right here for me, not for you, but for me.
Why don't you ask your notebooks? Are they still talking to each other?
Yeah, they are. Actually, there were 3 of them in full effect yesterday.
You're juggling. You're juggling.
Christian Ellis is blitzing and has like he has a one-on-one matchup with the center. Christian Ellis veers off to the guard, the left guard, who's blocking Milton Williams, and absolutely smashes into him, freeing Milton Williams. The great thing about Ellis is he keeps his balance, so not only does Milton Williams get free and gets in Stidham's face and forces that pass to come out a little bit too soon and a little bit inaccurate, but so does Christian Ellis. And to me, it was like, this is what we're talking about. This is what this defense has become, where guys are selfless and sacrificing each other. Ellis could have said, I'm flying. I got a lane to the quarterback. I'm just going to go. No, I'm going to take this guy out. Milt's going to get in there. I had Milt for 5 pressures in the game, Milton Williams in the game, which again, when you consider the sort of the nature of the game, is pretty friggin' impressive. But they did a lot of that stuff where guys were selfless, sacrificing for someone else to make a play. And so often too in this game, especially as we talk about with this run defense, the wall that they're building and the gaps that are being filled, like Carlton Davis. Did anyone have Carlton Davis as a big run stuffing cornerback? Did you but he constantly gets his nose in there and he's filling gaps. And like, he made a couple plays near the line of scrimmage where you're like, everybody's in, everybody's bought into this whole idea. And I don't know. I can't say enough good things about and I understand the circumstances and the quarterback and all that. I just can't say enough good things about the way they're playing and just sort of the energy that they brought in this game.
Well, if you want to know how they won the line of scrimmage in an area where Denver should have had the advantage, that's by your Pro Football Focus grades. It's by a lot of different statistics. And I know you weren't in love with the Broncos offensive line, but it wasn't a overwhelming expectation that Denver would dominate, but like a 60-40 probably win against those guys. No. Playoff Milton Williams has different ideas and apparently superpowers, because this is the dude you watched with the Eagles in the NFC Championship game and then the Super Bowl be the best player on the field. I had him for 6 pressures. So it's great that Christian Gonzalez had a sack and Kayvon Chase had a sack and all these guys. He was a wrecking ball in the middle. Barmore was good, had the other sack. Corey Durden showed up immediately. Mm-hmm. Elijah Ponder had the first pressure of the game. They won with that violence. The run fits were clean. And Dan Orlovsky had a good video about this, so I'm not going to go on. You can go check it out and look. But Ellis was a big piece of that too, especially when Spillane left. I'm going to do something I probably shouldn't. There is a story, and I'm going to pursue it. So anyone on the beat, earmuffs. I know there's some of you out there. You tell me some weeks. There's a story to be written about Christian Ellis going from the missed tackle machine that he was, running the opposite way on run plays, to a forceful, fast, again, just like Milton Williams, wrecking ball, except at linebacker, and how that's changed things at the second level. Like, I looked at that contract halfway through the season. I was like, ugh. No, this is a big success, and he's a big piece of that.
I'm not one who does this very often, but I put it in print where I was like, he's become my favorite player to watch.
Oh,
no, but it's like, much like I was giving the love letter to Anthony Jennings last week. I just knowing where he was, and we talked about it, the contract, and then the way he played early in the year and kind of getting benched. And, there are different things that happen to go from that to this, the way he's played the last 2 months of the season. The light went on in this defense. And the skill set that he had that they envisioned would work in this system has been beautiful.
Can I write a love letter now?
Go ahead.
So I joked last week about Zach Core claiming he didn't know their blitz rate for most of the season or the last game in the last few weeks. And I said, I'll tell you, Zach, but you don't have to pretend now. You're a smart guy. You're doing a great job.
Yeah.
Zach, you can pretend and lie and say and do whatever you want. And I'll tell you right now, in case you're wondering, 40.5% blitz rate, which was just outstanding. Just like this plan, just like the persistence, the timing, the play calling, he outsmarts Sean Payton so badly on that 4th and 1 with a look they had not shown on tape in the second quarter, deep in Patriots territory. Denver's nickel and diming. They're getting what they want here. Short passes for Stidham there. Enough on the ground that it seems like they're wearing down the Patriots. It was a new defense, completely smothered that play action pass that had no shot. And Peyton was so embarrassed and knew he'd been beaten so badly, he admits it to ESPN Seth Wickersham, which you pointed out to me on the radio, is something Sean Payton wouldn't normally do. So I had tip to you for saying that. But the way Zach Core has, I don't want to see leaned into, devised this new identity, and that being about blitzing, and it's on early downs and it's on late downs, but it's not reckless. It is so well timed and so purposeful, even sometimes sending safeties through the B gaps in a way that I'm wondering, like, what is the point of Jalen Hawkins flying into Quinn Myers or whatever? Well, if he takes care of the big guy, Robert Spillane's free, and then he can go in there. And it's a way of kind of manipulating some of the matchups. Whether that's the thinking or not, he's hitting all the right buttons. This was supposed to be his first year as a position coach, let alone play caller. The growth has been outstanding. He is going to get more flowers this week and stories written in Super Bowl week than, I don't know, anyone except Drake Maye probably, because it'll be him and Stretch. This is my prediction for Super Bowl week in the media. Oh, you got to listen to this guy named like John Stryker, who does all the game management stuff. Peter Strager's already started on this, and as the guy who wrote the book on Stretch, I'm already a little annoyed. But that core deserves all of the rose petals, everything going his way. If he ever needs the blitz rate, I'm here to tell him he's doing a great job, and here are the numbers. Just I don't have a hat, not yet. But hat tip to you, sir.
Yeah, he's done a terrific job. We were talking on the radio this morning when you were filling in for Hardy on Toucher and Hardy. There's always that little thing, like how much is Vrabel involved in this?
Yeah.
But the way the players talk about Zach, and the same thing, sort of his ability to reach them, and now they're in this place where, oh, this is the plan. It's going to be a great plan. I know it's going to be a great plan because proof of concept. We've had 4 months of great plans. Like it's getting better and better. Like, what's he going to have for me this time? And the interesting thing about sort of the blitz thing, right? And you wrote about this, and I've written about this, and the feeling they think they're overwhelming offenses with this in terms of just the overall, the energy and when it's coming and confusing the quarterbacks, is that there's something to letting these guys just sometimes just good, like everything's so structured, right? You got to be here, you got to be responsible for this gap and do this thing, and you're at the edge, and you got to make sure if the tight end's there, you hit the tight end before he releases, and then I want you to play out the outside shoulder, and there's all these different things that go into it that we don't look at, that the normal fan wouldn't look at. Like you say, why didn't he go get the quarterback? Well, because he's got like 7 other responsibilities before he's supposed to do that. In some of these cases, Zach's just like, go get the effing quarterback, just go get him. And like Marcus Jones or Hawkins or Craig Woodson, who's been like shot out of a cannon for the last 6 weeks, playing awesome football, physical, strong, great tackler, like all these things coming to fruition. But it's almost like he unleashed this beast in them. And now the confidence in that group has grown to the point where, oh, we're going to blitz on this one. See what watch. I'm going to get there before you do. You watch, or, hey, you know what? I'm going to take out that guard. You finish the job. And that's what they're doing.
Well, it's just a confidence, right? When he makes that call, it says to the DBs, I know you're going to have us in the back end with the coverage. And I get Carlton Davis and Christian Gonzalez should not fear Cortland Sutton and everyone behind Troy Franklin. Marvin Mims obviously had a good catch and a big play, and they probably should have gone to that well more anyway. But the point is, when it's kind of a positive feedback loop of the call says, I believe in you. You reward that faith in Zach Core, and it just kind of builds on itself with these particular calls that are high risk and high reward. And so far, it's been all high reward. I don't really want to do. You mentioned this morning, Chason's been a better run defender. That was one of my notes. Much more here because we all watched it. We're all looking ahead. Studs and duds. How about this? They're all studs. You won the freaking AFC Championship. Okay,
yeah.
Fair. And this
I'm okay with that. I mean,
okay.
I came up with a few for musings, but for the purposes of this podcast, I mean, I could have kept doing the thumbs up. There was a lot of guys that deserve thumbs up for sure.
And look, when I listen back and take my little notes, sounds like the most homerific podcast I've ever done. It's very possible it's because I am just absolutely punch drunk tired from, I'm not going to do the sports writer thing, which is the worst type of content ever, complaining about travel. I'm not complaining. It's just newborn, little sleep. That's what's going on here. They deserve it. They won. That's why the flowers are coming. It's not because we have our pom-poms out. But all studs, congratulations. Give me your initial thoughts on Seattle real quick.
So you triggered it as you were talking about.
Do you want a minute?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, no, I'll get there. Hang on, I'll get there. You triggered it when you were talking about how no fear of Sutton and those guys, just like the week before against the Texans, there was no real fear. And hey, my guys are better than yours. This is going to be a little different, I think, because Cooper Kupp's not the Cooper Kupp that won the Triple Crown in 2021 as a receiver, but he's become a very valuable piece in terms of how he, runs routes against zone, JSN, Jackson Smith-Njigba, over 1,800 yards receiving, was a focal point of the Rams defense, which is not as good as yours, but a focal point of your defense, of the Rams defense, and still went bananas. And Rashid Shaheed he's not going to catch 6 passes in a game, but the fear of his speed is powerful. So that matchup on the outside is going to be better than ones they faced in recent weeks, basically the entirety of the playoffs, because they didn't fear the Chargers guys either. I'd still say your guys are better than theirs, but I think the gap is a little bit closer in this one than that one. One other thing that kind of stood out to me about this, and again, I'm just sort of haven't done my deep dive on Seattle yet, is, and I can't think of the kid's name, the guard who's not Gray's able, the other guard.
Bradford.
Yeah, not very good. Not very good. So when you look at your team, I think he gave up 8 pressures against the Rams, and it was a clear, you're watching the game going, that guy's a problem, and not in a good way. This is a matchup where the Patriots obviously have their 2 big dogs in the middle, and Milton Williams and Christian Barmore. And then when they go to their next guys, Tonga, who made a massive, massive play, by the way, in the game, the run stop. How beautiful! Like I was just gushing about this to Mike Reese. So after the shank punt, quick aside, after the shank punt by Behringer,
don't make it long. Any Kairos Tonga content
sets up Denver 1st down and 10 on the 33-yard line in the 4th quarter. You've got the wind at your back, so they've got this is to their benefit, even though again conditions were terrible. Like in their head, they're thinking like, "Hey, we're going to get a field goal out of this, right? Like not even an attempt. We're going to get a field goal on the very first play. Simple run concept. RJ Harvey, Kairos Tonga blows up the interior of the offensive line and then makes the tackle of Harvey 3 yards in the backfield. So immediately you flip the script on them. They're like, hey, we're great here. Like we didn't even have to get a first down. We're going to be in a position to kick a relatively easy field goal. Instead, 2nd and 13 from the 36. Conditions are bad. Our quarterback's not very good. What are we going to do? A 1-yard gain and then a 7-yard scramble by Stidham. And then obviously the field goal attempt, which may not have been the normal 8 yards. They might have actually, I don't know if you've gone back and done the deep dive on this.
Well, Will Lutz talked about it. Yeah.
Yeah. And if you look at it, it looks like it's about 7.5, not 8. And maybe that's the difference in Leonard Taylor getting his, 2 fingers on the ball and blocking the kick. But anyway, the Tonga play was massive in that game. And back to my original point, attack that guard. You've got the people to do it.
It just hit me. We didn't talk about special teams. And look, everyone saw the field goal block. And Bryce Behringer, how do I put this? Was not thrilled about some analysis from some of us after the game, which will all kind of wash out. Wasn't good in the first half. Second half, I think, was better. And you want to keep the ball away from Marvin Mims. That's fine. Was a factor in this. And those are kind of the details to bring this briefly full circle to the Vrabel coaching culture piece. We didn't get to see it, so this is a counterfactual. We'll never know. But I am highly confident that even a rookie long snapper and Julian Ashby, Behringer as a holder, and a rookie kicker in Andy Borregales are not making that mistake with those details, even in the snow, because that detail might have cost Denver, at least going to overtime, maybe win. Anyway, my initial thoughts here, we're going to have a lot of talk about Sam Darnold, and you already tweeted about this. with the ghosts and his history against the Patriots and all that's kind of ancient. But since I unearthed these stats anyway, I have to share them because this is a different dude. Like the point here is the guy that you've been watching against the Patriots is not the quarterback of the Seattle Seahawks. He deserves more respect than you are inclined to give him, and he will still make some silly plays and under pressure melt, though he was outstanding with the hand in his face against the Rams. I'm just saying, maybe not fear him, but at least put some respect in Sam Darnold's name. That's in the future, though. For now, here were those stats. 51% completion percentage in 4 games against the Patriots. In those 4 games, he had 1 touchdown. He had 9 picks, 9 sacks, and 1 safety. And when you take the pick 6 that he threw against them in his last start against the Patriots, he was a Carolina Panther in 2021 in November. I was not at this game. I was at a wedding, but we watched it because Brian Groom, Patriots and Panthers fan that day. Both happy, though, regardless of the outcome. Anyway, J.C. Jackson takes it back for a pick 6. When you consider that the safety Sam Darnold took was also on a dropback, the Patriots have scored more points on Sam Darnold dropbacks than his own offenses have. 1 touchdown pass, 1 pick 6, 1 safety. Absolutely amazing. Fear that guy is my point, as I was saying. Anyway, so there's that. And then the defense part, look, it's been a gauntlet. This is, I don't say it's probably my favorite defense. Mm-hmm. If it's not Houston, they have the best defense. It's the rush up front. I like the scheme better than Houston's. This is a very smart, well-coached team that will fly around. I think there's going to be an adjustment period for the Patriots in the first half, getting used to that speed and just how sound it is. Like that's, which all sounds very generic. It's not great analysis, but I just want people to keep that in mind. You're going to hear how great it is. And then we'll get to a point where everyone's like, oh, I'm just sick and tired of hearing about the Seattle defense. And what about the Patriots defense? Those are separate. Patriots have played unbelievable. But like, this is maybe been the best defense in the league start to finish. And it certainly is here at the end if they earned it. So
number 1 in DVOA against both pass and run. Number 1 against number 1 receivers, I believe. Top 5, I think, against number 2 receivers. Number 1 scoring defense in the league. They don't have the individual superstar rusher. There's no Will Anderson in this pile. There's no Nick Bonito. They have 5 guys that all had over 40 pressures this year, the only team in the league to do that. So it can come from a number of different guys. I think it's really, there's a lot of questions to Vrabel today. And I just wanted to know, like, what defines the Mike Macdonald scheme? Because he is the hot coach. He was the hot coach when he got fired. There are a lot of teams that rue the day that they let him get out the building. Jesse Minter is now the new head coach in Baltimore, in part because Jesse Minter was under Mike Macdonald in Baltimore and espouses the same philosophy defensively as Mike Macdonald does, Jesse Minter being the former defensive coordinator for the Chargers. So, like, as Vrabel said in true Vrabel fashion, well, there's only so many things you can do. There's 11 guys in the field. You can only do so many things, which is right. But as he said, they're multiple. They'll do different things with their safeties. You've got to – Drake's going to have to be really sharp about pre-snap, post-snap recognition, what he sees, and be smart with the football, because not only is this team very good at disguise, they're also very good if you make a mistake. They tend to take advantage of it.
And it's hard, I get people hearing this being like, they just gave up 27 in the NFC Championship game.
Yeah.
And if Drake Maye doesn't win the MVP, Matthew Stafford will. They're on the same tier. Drake Maye's not looked quite like himself in the playoffs, as we've all noted, against top 10 defenses and now going against the best. Patriots can't win this game unless I think he has at least 3 average to good quarters. But we'll see. We got a long time to project. On the note,
and Stafford has Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams.
Yes, excellent point.
You don't.
No, and Puka went off in an insane fashion in the last 2 games in Seattle that the Rams had. The point about the run defense, by the way, because Doug made some comment yesterday when we were waiting at the Philly airport and, considering squatting there for a while because we had just, hey, we put in the time.
It's a nice airport too.
Just claim the territory. It's like, wow, they're really good against the run. So I look up their DVOA numbers. The gap between them at number 1 and the second-ranked run defense was the same gap in terms of percentage, like the raw number from DVOA, as number 2 to 14. So this is not just, they're barely better than Houston, who I think was second against the run. Again, the gap between them and the second-best team is the gap between number 2 and 14, almost half of the league. It's going to be tough sledding. DadPod, I got a quick one.
Yep.
I have been gone now, was it 3 nights? And it was 2 nights when I was covering the divisional round game. It snowed, and I just stayed in our apartment again. People don't know I've been commuting to and from Connecticut, staying with my in-laws, which is why the one comment we had on the Spotify episode last week was like, how's this man have a bookshelf and no books? Our apartment, anyway, long story. That's why there was some work done. Not by our choosing. Anyway, come home today. She, again, only not seen her for 3 nights, is not like a different baby, but has grown a lot more than I feel like when I left her. And it's both like, oh my God, and I'm a little sad, and I am both excited and fearful for what 9 days away is going to do when I come back. Because she's about to turn 3 months. But it's wild because it shouldn't feel like that after such a short amount of time, but it does.
Yeah, and the older they get, like when you're in this window here, 6 months, 9 months, those things are like big milestones. And anytime I was away, you come back and have that same reaction, like, what happened to my little baby? When my little baby's doing this, or like they grow really fast, and you blink and you miss it.
She's so adorable. Though a family member.
Thank God she takes after your mother.
I know.
I mean your wife, not your mother. That was Freudian. I don't know what that was.
Okay, we're not going to step any further down that road. Thank you very much. One of the best pictures I have of her was sent to me by a family member who, again, this is all like in jest, but they would like me to be home. Pardon me, would love to be home. She has the biggest smile on her face. She's like in this, sitting up a little bit, one of those like specific baby, what are they called? Apparently the Patriots offensive lineman put a picture of Will Campbell in one of these. It's got like
a baby Bjorn. The baby Bjorn.
Thank you.
Yes.
Will Campbell in a Bjorn, and then Mike Vrabel there is his dad. Anyway, she's in the Bjorn, and there was a speech bubble. And within the speech bubble, it said, "Go Broncos." I want to keep looking at this photo because she looks so adorable. I don't like the speech bubble anymore because it reminds me I will not be home. I'm excited to go to the Super Bowl. My family's excited, but again, they'd like me to be home. Do you have anything?
No, though it does help to have an extra body at home with the snow. Be like, you know what? Well, I sit here and break my back and shovel 20 feet of snow. How about if you take the dog for a walk? Those sorts of things, paying some dividends as they get older.
We only have a couple more minutes, and we still have okay, let me have it, which mine will be what you just did. The Freudian slip of maybe she takes after your wife when you really meant she takes after your wife. I'm going to hit pause, though, before you go, because there was a friend of mine, who made the trip to Denver and was supposed to be on the radio this morning, but did not get the call in. So I was wondering if he could make an appearance, and he actually just popped in. His name's Callahan in the car, and he's got a big scouting report on those ponies that got punked at Mile High. So you, I think, are going to be a little bit annoyed with me, Callahan in the car, who made an appearance in 98.5 The Sports Hub a couple of weeks ago. People have been calling back. I didn't get to do it today. It's totally fine. A lot of stuff. We had a Disney princess call in that was cool. Are you going to survive for a minute?
Go for it.
Callahan in the car wants you to know that this is not a prison mic thing. People accuse me of doing, I'm really the bum reporter from the Herald who loves bad news more than his family and wearing his hat backwards. That's backwards. Callahan is bald, let me tell you. I only shave my head because it looks bad when I don't. Okay, you got it? Good. You know who looks good? The New England MFing Patriots, baby. It would not be the Super Bowl if I wasn't watching my boys and ignoring my girl, okay? So how did they do it this time? Let me tell you. The Patriots saved the horse, and they rode Jarrett Stidham up and down that field until he was crying Uncle Vrabel. Offense wins games, defense wins championships. Google it just like this. Hey, Siri. Now, while you're Googling, don't ask Sean Payton anything because he's a fraud, okay? Dude's play sheet is the size of a Kowloon menu, and that dude couldn't order up a completed pass with a side of spare ribs in the second half. And what's with his face? Sean Payton always squinting, pursing his lips like he's waiting on a kiss that's never going to come. First of all, been there. All 4 proms I got kicked out of, and all 6 years of high school, okay? But second of all, Sean, you suck. And what's on everyone ranking on Drake Maye for 86 passing yards? He only threw for 86 passing yards. Who cares? You never get bored at work. So does he. He ran all over Denver, okay, just because he could. And he would have had more yards if it wasn't for those giant balls taking the ball on third down to seal the game. That's what it is. So go Pats. Callahan is in. He's out. That was my recap. Back to your regularly scheduled program with that bum at the Herald.
We had a hard out at 3:10. That was dreadful. And you saved me because I didn't really have anything. So there you go.
You're welcome. It's a part down version. The guy had a lot more to say, and I said, we don't have that much time. That was the alarm to get him out of there. So we just.
That's why I heard the alarm. I was like, this is timing out perfectly.
Yeah. All right. We have Super Bowl week next week. It is Media Night Monday after you fly in. So we will not be back with the Mike Giardi Monday. Tuesday, maybe we can squeeze it in. You and I can talk, but we'll do it at some point next week. Anything else before we go?
No, just enjoy, like what we were talking about earlier. Just enjoy this. Don't listen to the haters. This doesn't happen all the time, even though it feels like it happens all the time. So, I would enjoy it. It's been a fun team. It's been a fun year. Hopefully it's a fun 2 weeks. It ends the way you'd like.
Yeah. I agree. We will have tons of new guests, interviews, fun stuff. You'll also find that in the All32 podcast. Plenty of stuff at Patriots Press Pass. If you are not subscribed to the YouTube channel, by the way, @_Andrew Callahan. Everything is there. You'll find small videos, interviews, YouTube-only stuff next week at the Super Bowl, all of these episodes. And if you're on Apple or Spotify, look, you just spent over an hour. You just listened to a fake radio caller hang out and call in with his analysis of a game, the character that we just made up. You can take a minute to give us a rating or review. We'll take whatever feedback you got. Apple and Spotify, please leave us a rating and review. You help us grow. We can do more cool stuff. And @_Andrew Callahan on YouTube. Everyone says this, but come on. We're hanging out. It's a good time. Super Bowl.
3,000. There's 3,000 people in here. Some of you could, take 2 minutes. Leave a review. We appreciate you.
Yeah. All right. And we'll do a mailbag episode partly next week. So you know what? If you're leaving a rating or review, take a screenshot of what you did, and we'll definitely get to your question next couple of days. In the meantime, everyone rest your shoulder, whether it's hurt or not. We can't have anyone out there just it's tough.
I'm shaking mine out every time I shovel, and I'm going to go do some more shoveling right now. So beautiful.
All right. I appreciate you. We will see you next week.
All right, brother.